horses, I'll swim through the sea, I'll climb to the mountain tops, won't you come follow me? I'll take time to notice all that I see, and after I've come so far, you know where I'll be. I'll fly away, fly away, fly away, fly away home. I'll fly away, fly away, fly away, fly away home. But life is a vision, that's how it should be. The world is a canvas, and the choices are free. At the end of the journey, where all is complete, they'll all wonder where I've gone, but you know where I'll be. I'll fly away, fly away, fly away, fly away home. I'll fly away, fly away, fly away, fly away home. Our dreams last forever, for all that we know. The roads come together, and that's where we'll go.
Buenas Marianas, Buenas Micronesia. I'm Troy Torres.
And I'm Johnnie Rosario.
Welcome to our studios here in Tumon, Guam. It is Tuesday? Wednesday. It is Thursday, December 12, almost December 13. Hey, it's Friday the 13th.
I don't like that.
In like 2 minutes. Or
I'm going home.
In 3 minutes or something. It's
I have
only
bad
Friday.
luck on this day all the time, every year. Every time there's a Friday the 13th, it's bad luck for me.
Even sober?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, what's that about?
I don't know.
Oh, okay, well, this is wood, it's not metal, so we're good. Well, blessings, and we hope that there's no bad luck for anyone except for our enemies on Friday the 13th. And we have a very full lineup for you tonight, and we just broke some news on our website and on our Facebook page regarding some shopping sprees, and we will get to that. Tonight we're actually going to start with news from the Commonwealth of the Northern Mariana Islands. And I want to start with the story that we posted earlier today that gave some perspective to the difference. Like, what is the difference between the charges that Governor Ralph Torres should be facing, the probable cause that exists to charge him for crimes against the Commonwealth in an impeachment, which would then lead to a trial in the Senate for his removal. What is the difference between what's happening now and what happened 7 years ago during the impeachment process for former Governor Benigno Fitial? So, did I say that right? Fitial? And so we did this story earlier because we looked up what it is that the articles of impeachment, House Resolution number 18-2, that laid out the charges against Governor Fitial. And we're not from the CNMI, so we have to do our research. We have to look up this stuff. And I remember the stories back in the day, but I did not fully remember or comprehend the charges, so that we had to look this up. And so could you do us the honors, Chano, of this story on, it's called Torres versus Fitial. What are the differences?
You can go to Troy's screen, Cello. Be it resolved that, I don't know how to say his name. Benigno Fitial, Governor of the Commonwealth of the Northern Mariana Islands, is impeached for the commission of actions constituting multiple felonies, multiple acts of public corruption, multiple instances of neglect of his sworn duties of office, and the following articles of impeachment be exhibited to the Commonwealth Senate for trial. These are the opening words of House Resolution 18-2, which led to the impeachment of former Governor Fitial in January 2013 at the beginning of the 18th Commonwealth Legislature. The final sentence of the 26-page listing of charges for probable cause to impeach Mr. Fitial reads, "Wherefore, Benigno Fitial by such inaction warrants impeachment and trial and removal from office and disqualification to hold and enjoy any office of honor or trust of the Commonwealth of the Northern Mariana Islands." The articles of impeachment passed overwhelmingly by the House of Representatives, which was comprised of a majority of Mr. Fitial's supporters, were sent to the Senate. Before the trial against Mr. Fitial began, he resigned from office in disgrace. Then Lieutenant Governor Eloy Enos was sworn in to office as the governor of the CNMI. The 15 congressmen who sponsored House Resolution 18-2 argued that there was more than enough probable cause that Mr. Fitial had committed crimes and neglected his duties for him to answer to the Senate. Particularly important to current events surrounding Governor Ralph Torres is the fact that 6 of the members who voted to impeach Mr. Fitial are members of the current House floor. House Floor Leader John Paul Sablan, Representative Lorenzo De Leon Guerrero, Janet Maritita, Ralph Yamul, Roman C. Beneventi, and Edmund Villagomez. What is this probable cause that convinced these members to vote to impeach Fitial? And how does it compare to the probable cause that exists against Mr. Torres today? The articles of impeachment are broken down into parts. The first 4 articles charge Mr. Fitial with the commission of 4 separate felonies in violation of both local and federal laws. The next 4 articles charge him with public corruption. The final 9 charges involve neglect of duty. Mr. Sablan, the current floor leader, said in Tuesday's House discussion on the possibility of an investigation into Mr. Torres that the Commonwealth Legislature should, quote, respect the process, end quote, referring to the Federal Bureau of Investigation RICO case against the governor, his wife, and his brothers and sister-in-law. He said that the probable cause and allegations against the governor should be left to the federal investigators. Representatives Ed Probst, Tina Sablan, and Donald Minglonia disagreed, saying that the legislature was duty-bound to start an inquiry, especially as to the probable cause regarding the commission of local felonies and violations of local law. Despite Mr. Sablan's statements, he didn't always act that way. He is one of the authors of the articles of impeachment against Mr. Fitial, the first of which charges him with violating federal law. Under Article 1 of the impeachment, it reads that the governor, quote, has willfully conspired to commit and committed a felony against the United States of America in that, on or about January 8, 2010, Benigno Fitial planned, conspired with others to commit and committed the federal felony of instigating or assisting escape in violation of 18 U.S.C. subsection 752, end quote. This and the next article of impeachment dealt with the governor's directives to release a prisoner to massage him at his private residence, so he said. Mr. Fitial's home was never raided by the FBI. Neither was his office. The unprecedented raid of the governor's office and Mr. Torres's home by the FBI lends to proponents of impeachment and removal from office one striking difference from the changes of federal felonies against Mr. Fitial. A federal judge actually found probable cause of the commission of federal crimes in order to sign the warrants for the raids and the seizure of property. Mr. Sablan and the other 5 current congressmen who voted for impeachment in the 18th Commonwealth Legislature may need to explain to their constituency why, if they continue to stall action on starting an investigation into Mr. Torres, they are treating him differently than Mr. Fitial, especially when the probable cause against Mr. Torres is stronger than any other probable cause there was against Mr. Fitial. Why the change of heart? When 7 years ago you voted to impeach a governor, in part due to allegations of federal crimes, without any knowledge of a federal investigation. Articles 3 and 4 of the impeachment charged Mr. Fitial with theft of services felonies. These charges revolved around Mr. Fitial's use of government resources, namely Commonwealth employees, to aid in the attempted escape of former Attorney General Ed Buckingham. In this case, the sponsoring members of the House alleged that Mr. Fitial planned the illegal use of government employees to carry out Mr. Buckingham's escape. In Mr. Torres's case, black and white evidence of the governor defrauding the CNMI government in order to be reimbursed for nearly $100,000 in personal purchases and to illegally fly on premium fare every time him and his wife travel on the public dime was sent directly to House members. The governor himself authenticated the series of documents, which includes reimbursement memos, receipts, boarding passes, itineraries, and more. Among the corruption charges against Mr. Fitial involved his approval of a sole source contract and how that violated the Commonwealth's laws. By comparison, document on top of document confirms the greater number of sole source contracts approved by Mr. Torres. In just the last few months, thanks to an Open Government Act investigation by Justice Advocate Patricia Guerrero, the public discovered an under-the-table sole source contract with Clyde Norita to head the CNMI census effort. Mr. Torres is accused of far worse crimes than Mr. Fitial, who was impeached within the same month articles of impeachment were introduced. The instrument of delivery? A special investigative committee appointed by the Speaker of the House. Current House Speaker Blas Jonathan Attal has a choice to make about what side of history he will be on, as Rep. Tina Sablan so aptly put it. 7 years ago, there was little hesitation by House members to impeach a corrupt governor for crimes and conduct that do not rise to the level of Mr. Torres's crimes and misconduct. This time around, there's clear black and white evidence of the crimes. This time round, probable cause of crimes including money laundering, fraud, wire fraud, foreign interference in U.S. elections, violations of the travel law, misuse of public funds, the receiving of kickbacks, abuse of power, and more has been produced to the public and to a federal grand jury. Probable cause exists in the eyes of a federal judge. The governor's office and his homes were raided. This is not the figment of an overactive imagination. These aren't the misusings of government political enemies. This matter, the betrayal of the people's trust, should be a bipartisan matter that only thus far has reached the conscience of the independent minority bloc in the House. The only conspiracies here are the ones involving the planning of crimes committed by Mr. Torres, his wife, his brothers, and all but one of their wives. Why was Mr. Fitial held to a higher standard 7 years ago than Mr. Torres is held today? If Mr. Fitial were the governor today who committed these crimes, would the Commonwealth legislature still be moving at a glacial pace or have this same hesitation to send articles of impeachment to the Senate for a trial and removal of the governor?
There are some comments on this story that I think that people should hear. John DeLangan says, I know they're both clowns. And then Francisco Beato says they're both matoka. Is that like in trouble? Mm-hmm. I'm so sorry, Chamorro speakers. I'm a disgrace to Chamorros everywhere. I don't speak the language.
You don't know that? That's like me when I was a kid. Mantoka. They're gonna get me.
My grandma just said things
you?
like, "Chadana Troy." Loose Troy. And I was told all the time that I was imbirikiru.
Every time my cousins would come, they always get spanking too, and my mom would say, "You know why all of you are getting spanking? Because you're following her, and all of you are in cahoots."
Does that include Prim?
Oh, yeah.
Prim, you got spanked all the time because Johnnie got you in trouble?
Yeah.
And Johnnie also told you not to snitch or else she'll beat you up, right?
Yeah, and I told him that if he I've told him if he cries, I'm gonna beat him up.
Felix Taitsino Sasimoto Jr. says, sounded like racist, not fair on behalf of Governor Fitial's impeachment. Speaker, Naredi House Fanahan Hagu Lokwi. Can someone do the translation for me? No?
Not me.
No?
I'm not even gonna try.
You guys should be ashamed of yourselves
I
not
am.
knowing your Chamorros.
I am.
Shame.
Daryl Slider says, laughing, I forgot about the midnight massage, LOL. James Tenoyo says, God is not sleeping. If you said you did nothing wrong, then all fine and dandy. If you get caught, then shame on you. Junior Sablan Teragizu says, bring it to the federal courts like the retirees did. Local is local. Federalize is FBI. Let them figure this mess. Mark Estrada says, the difference is that there's a casino now and money is free flowing and most pockets are being filled. They have sold their souls. And to which Julie Miss says, Mark Estrada, I believe you. Jezebel Kaipat Capileo says, way too many hands in the cookie jar this time. And because Fitial is not Taurus. Know what I mean? So there are some undertones that start here, and then people become very direct about exactly what they mean. So Anne Leon Guerrero says, I don't know Fitial's ethnicity, but could it be the difference between the two and their last names? Thus, ethnicity could be the obvious. Fitial non-Chamorro. Just wondering if racism plays a role. Good Angel says, wow, do you have a proof showing that Fitial is a crook like Governor Torres has? I need a proof, please. Thank you. Well, I think that is one of the biggest differences between Governor Fitial's case and Governor Torres's case is that the probable cause against Mr. Torres is like way stronger than the probable cause there was against Governor Fitial. I believe that Governor Fitial, though, did admit to the woman who was a prisoner being taken to his house so that the only reason that the public knows that it was to massage him is because he said so. Mm-hmm. That was his reason for bringing the woman, the prisoner, to his house. So at the very least, there was that admission. Good Angel goes on to say, the difference is too many bad rumors about Fitial, but no evidence was shown. Taurus looks all angelic, but a lot of evidence showing on social media. Are this even true? AC Cabrera says, Taurus family and friends have more to lose. Kind of hard to lose a tug-of-war game when you have more players that are strong pulling on your side as well as on the sidelines. Fitial had a few on his end with him doing majority of the work. This is an interesting analysis. Let us not forget that Fitial's running mate and lieutenant governor did go to prison, Tim Villagomez, with his sister and brother-in-law from their illegal transactions and conspiracy. It is a chain of crooks from the start, and it started with Fitial. Kizzy Boo gets right to the point and says, Fitial is Carolinian and Taurus is not. There, I said it. Mars Rio says, like finding Taurus millions, ah? Songi Guam says, there is this thing with the I'm so sorry. I do not know how to say this word. Rifaluash culture and people. They're amazingly and genuinely nice and respectful. They're welcoming and helpful to a fault. But when you do them wrong and cross that line of respect, they know it will come back to you tenfold. It's always been that way, and it will never change. Those are some of the comments to this story. And so the part of the political climate in Saipan right now is, what is the legislature doing? And the legislature actually is going into session tomorrow. The House of Representatives is going into session tomorrow, where it was expected that Speaker B.J. Atao would rule on the referral of this request from the minority bloc. Actually, before we get to breaking news about what is happening in that matter, I want us to hear or to see the footage that Kandit was able to take of Tuesday's session of the House of Representatives, where this was discussed in vivid detail. And let's start with Congressman Ed Prope's introductory speech.
And the governor has to follow the law. I would like to request once again, Mr. Speaker, that your office reach out to him.
Sorry, wrong one. We're going to get to Representative Tina Sablan's speech after Representative Probst, but let's go with Representative Probst first. Mullard. One. Come on, just hang on the Mullard.
Hang on.
Look, and we're going to get to that story about Mampus Pat. Little Mampus Pat says she's greedy. Ready?
And remind all of our colleagues that she wasn't the only representative to receive this letter. In fact, it was sent to each and every member in the House and in the Senate. We all received a copy of it from Mr. Troy Torres. Mr. Speaker and colleagues, the documents that were attached to this were concerning, and we cannot turn a blind eye to it. We all looked at it, we all discussed it privately, and we've said many things in confidence with each other. But it is our constituents who continue to come up to us and question us and ask each and every one of us, why are we not commenting on these questionable reimbursements and questionable first-class travel, among other things? These documents have been widely circulated, and constituents have asked, again, each and every one of us to comment about it, to speak to it. We had somebody earlier make public comments, a constituent. So how long are we going to continue to ignore that proverbial elephant in the room? With that said, Mr. Speaker, the House minority members have met several times to discuss what actions should take place. Now, we are a small minority, there's only 6 of us, but we do have different thoughts and opinions. But one of the things that we wanted to ensure was that we had a unified position and a unified statement that would come from each and every one of us, that would be approved by each and every one of us. And that's not always easy. Mr. Speaker, together, while working on this for several hours, we put together a unified statement and letter to you requesting for the appointment of a special investigative committee. Mr. Speaker, I beg your indulgence if you would give me a very short time to read and submit this brief letter to you, if that's okay. Thank you. Dear Speaker Atao, we, the members of the House minority, formally request that you appoint a special committee to investigate allegations of public corruption, fraud, waste, and abuse of public funds by Governor Ralph De Leon Guerrero Torres. According to the 21st House of Representative Rules of Procedure, Rule 7, Section 1, special committees may be established by the Speaker as required to conduct investigations, consider and report on such special or temporary matters as are referred to them. A special committee may conduct hearings, summon and examine witnesses, and compel the submission of documents and records. A special committee must also submit a written report of findings and recommendations to the Speaker within 60 days of appointment, unless a shorter or longer time is ordered by the Speaker. We assert that the legislature has a solemn constitutional duty to investigate the allegations and records that have been circulated throughout our community, submitted to the members of the legislature, and covered by local and regional media. Enclosed with this letter that we will be submitting is a sampling of these records, which includes a federal search warrant, a receipt for property seized by the FBI, a grand jury subpoena, and government records related to travel, official representation, and reimbursements by Governor Torres. The recent FBI raids on the home and office of the governor and his associates, and the revelations of lavish and questionable expenses charged by the governor to the people of the Commonwealth have severely eroded public trust and the integrity of our government. We cannot and must not turn a blind eye. We, the members of the House minority, are fully committed to working with you and our colleagues in the House to ensure fairness, transparency, due diligence, and accountability in any special committee and inquiry going forward. We urge that the special committee enlist the Office of the Public Auditor and other experts and analysts as needed to examine records and witnesses. We further call for civility and decorum and an investigation that is based on facts and evidence. Governor Torres, like all citizens of our country and Commonwealth, deserves due process, the benefit of the doubt, and an opportunity to answer for himself to this legislative body and the people we represent. Mr. Speaker, we stand ready to work with you to begin the inquiry that our constituents demand and deserve. Respectfully, Ed Probst, Christina Sablan, Ed Villagomez, Sheila Babalta, Richard Azama, Donald Mengonia.
Further discussion under House Communications. Christina Sablan, please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and colleagues. The minority is calling for the appointment of a special committee to investigate Governor Torres because we are facing matters of grave and constitutional urgency. The governor and his associates are subjects of a federal criminal investigation involving money laundering, fraud, and illegal campaign contributions. And now we have records documenting the governor's illegal first-class travel and extravagant expenses paid by the people of the Commonwealth. Today, the minority is also filing an Open Government Act request seeking all records relevant to his travel, official representation, housing allowances, executive security and chauffeuring services, and reimbursements, including the policies that determine whether or not the people of the Commonwealth should be paying for all of this. The governor is accused of betraying the people's trust. If we do nothing, Mr. Speaker and colleagues, we will also be complicit in betrayal. Of course, we all respect the criminal legal process now underway, but we must also respect the public office we hold and our own process for conducting legislative investigations and holding the governor accountable. A formal inquiry is our process, and we should expect the governor to respect that process as well, to fully cooperate with our investigations and to answer to this body for his actions. This week, colleagues, we celebrate CNMI Constitution Day. And on this occasion, we honor the wisdom of our founders who established a system of government in the Marianas that is based on checks and balances among three co-equal branches of government. In the words of retired Chief Justice Jose de la Cruz, CNMI self-government will only be as good as the individuals we elect into public office. When there are breaches of the Constitution or the laws of the Commonwealth committed by public officials in one branch of government, our democracy depends on the other branches to provide accountability and restore balance. Let's do our jobs. Establish the special committee, begin the inquiry, empower the committee to do its work professionally, objectively, and fairly, and report back to this body on its findings and recommendations for action. Mr. Speaker and colleagues, we are facing a critical dilemma in this legislature. And the question is, which side of history will we choose to be on? Let's choose the side of the people we were elected to serve. Thank you. I write this letter to express my concern over the issue of abuse of power and corruption in government. Since our Commonwealth Casino Bill passed on Saipan, there has been outright and open corruption by our governments who have been placed to manage the affairs and develop the CNMI economically, educationally, politically, and otherwise. We have seen the privilege given to some individuals to manage the affairs of this Commonwealth being misused, abused, and dynasties created. Some have enriched themselves and their cronies, and in turn the very people who have elected them to serve have been neglected, and the Commonwealth will be saddled with enormous debts which our children and grandchildren will have to repay. We must agree that it is unfair for educated individuals with the right qualifications deserving jobs, but not getting them due to nepotism being displayed. With our healthcare and public school system underfunded, and our CNMI legislature priorities does not include healthcare and education, intense scrutiny on our immigration system arising now, and more is yet to come. I'm not choosing sides of this political dynasty, but simply making it clear that no matter who we put into government, that they almost always end up losing sight and focus on the primary job. We as a Commonwealth population, whether educated or not, must fight for the upliftment of our Commonwealth in ways unheard of and unprecedented. For the next few years, we must analyze all that is happening in our Commonwealth as we hold the key to our rise in glory or our fall in utter despair. We must prioritize and rapidly come up with solutions to our problems such as crime, unemployment, poverty, healthcare, public school system, infrastructure to recovery, as they are all vital in the development of our Commonwealth. Furthermore, I want to see my Commonwealth flourish and not diminish with corrupt politicians becoming heads of government. I want to see our debts reduced and continue to reduce until we are in good standing. I want to see our justice system be fair to all, but for all this to happen, we must first put, without a doubt in our minds, the right persons in place to run our Commonwealth and not running it down the drain. I want to see individuals with the right mindset who are willing and able to get the job done exactly how it should be done. I've seen well-mannered, educated, and humble individuals turn to quite the opposite as soon as they enter into politics or enter into government. This is what our Commonwealth has become. Normal individuals in suits and ties who seemingly are above the law and above the people of this Commonwealth. We must open our eyes and stop being conned. We must analyze the economy and heads of government and see if both these principles are moving in an upward mobility or downward mobility, or if they are moving opposite of each other. The ideal outcome is that the economy is lifted. In conclusion, we must stop government officials in their destiny to becoming rich through government. We need to carefully seek to place right individuals with the right mindset and qualifications to run this Commonwealth in the direction that is beneficial to the greater population, rather than focusing on personal gains. We need to focus on true development of our Commonwealth and not be fooled by the lackadaisical work being done by the individuals we ourselves put in power. Power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. And if we fail to plan, then consequently, we plan to fail. And this is submitted by a concerned citizen, in the belief as well that this reflects the concerns of many others in our community. Thank you.
Which side of history will we choose to be on? It's just an extremely powerful question that Representative Tina Sablan poses to the people of the CNMI, but more locally to her colleagues in the House of Representatives of the 21st Commonwealth Legislature. Lance Taitano from Guam says, wow, just their speeches put our officials 3 steps back. Powerful stuff. I completely agree. I have legislature envy. We were just commenting, Eric, Johnnie and I were just commenting while we were watching these videos that they are around a table. Their representatives are around a table in a collegial matter. There's nothing like fancy or frou-frou about their process. That except for the floor leader JP Sablan, no one was on their phone. He was fixing his boo, right? These it's an efficiently run legislature, for sure. Earlier today, both Congressman Probst and Congresswoman Sablan were on the Andrea Pelicani show, and they spoke about this stuff. I know you wanted to say a few
Yeah,
things.
I'm just learning about how it works in the CNMI, and I asked Troy, what can the people do to show that they're concerned and they want to be heard? And I think where we think the best bet is for the people of the CNMI to write to their there's districts, right? To write to your district leader, the congressperson, right? Whoever your congressman is, write letters, simple letters that you are concerned and you stand behind them, because we truly believe that maybe some of these, I know they're elected into office and they should be able to stand up for you, but maybe some of them are scared and they need you as a people to come behind them so they can stand up and start this investigation. So if you just write just a simple letter, even if it's one paragraph, if you want to make it 2 pages, it's really up to you, supporting the effort into getting an investigation into the governor. I think that is the best bet. If everybody does it, your representative will not be afraid, because in reality, it's scary over there.
And Congressman Ed Probst actually did speak about how, in private, some of his Republican colleagues are supportive of what they're doing. They just
Don't
because
know
of
how.
everything that's going on, they're scared to, or they have things to lose because they have family members who work in the administration, or maybe even more nefarious fear than that. Edith De Leon Guerrero says, I'm going to try, Edith, okay? Mas kinahon evidensya hafan na process isina may constitution man
Nina?
ninai hamzu ni process basta mafaeskusun mizu. I'm sorry. I'm gonna have to stop there because I'm gonna butcher the Chamorro language. But thank you, Edith, for the comment. It's right there. Elizabeth Raleen, who we have a story about her coming right up, says, true, but I just don't understand why it was so easy to have impeached former Governor Fitiao and not Ralph. It is mind-boggling. Why, when there's so much evidence found of his misdoings? Speak up, CNMI. Our voices need to be heard. And Elizabeth Raleen spoke up. She did in a very big way. And earlier today, Kandit had an opportunity to speak with her about an incident that happened in September of last year in the lead up to the election for CNMI governor. And Chalo, can you?
Yes.
It's your story.
Commonwealth daughter and current Des Moines, Washington resident Elizabeth Raleen told Candid News in an interview today that Governor Ralph Torres tried to get her to vote for him in the CNMI election last year, even though she was registered to vote in Washington state. Quote, I told him, I don't think that's legal, and he said to me, don't worry, just see Julita and we can make this happen. Miss Raleen told Candid about her encounter with the governor on September 1st, 2018, during the annual CNMI Labor Day baseball tournament in Enumclaw, Washington. Miss Raleen said she believes she wasn't the only one whom the governor offered to register to vote in the CNMI while registered as well in Washington, so they may vote for him. This is voter fraud, and it's a felony. She also told Candid that CNMI elected and appointed officials attend the tournament every year. It was former Senator Teresita Santos, who invited her to the tournament. Election Commission Executive Director Julita Gomez is the Julita the governor referred her to. She was on the trip registering voters for Mr. Torres. Quote, I went up to her and told her what the governor said, and I asked her if that's legal. Miss Raleen told Candid, I told her it was Ralph who told me to do this, and she turned around to look at him, then looked at me and shook her head, saying, no, that's voter fraud. I told her that's what I thought too. Miss Raleen said that Miss Villagomez did not try to register her to vote, and in fact told her if she wanted to register, she should move back to Saipan, stay there for 3 months, and then register to vote.
This is a troubling story, and there actually is an audit that was conducted in the CNMI government regarding the 2018 elections, and we're going to take a closer look at that audit and what it said, and some things about missing ballots. Because it's not just Miss Raulene who sent us information, and she's brave enough to come forward and use her name. She allowed us to interview her, to do the story and everything. But there are many others who have this very similar story about CNMI voters being disenfranchised during the last election, and the possibility that the final vote count was not the real final vote count, which is a very disturbing thing.
Oh, but his supporters like to come out and say we won by a landslide and we won this, and Kandit will look into that and we'll see how much of a landslide it really was.
Yeah, it's for real, because there's a very big problem if the number of ballots that are printed does not equal the number of ballots tallied after the election. Very big problem. And something like that, people should not be getting away with something like that, and people should be going to jail who were accountable for stuff like that. And so we're going to take a look at that. Now, this is not the latest. This is just another in a series of misconduct and illegal activity happening in the Torres administration that lends credence to the minority's effort to begin an investigation that, let's face it, it will lead to the impeachment of the governor. The members of the House know that investigation, if it's ever conducted, will lead to the impeachment of the governor. And that's why they don't want this investigation to start. However, we have breaking news. Speaker B.J. Attal actually referred House Communication 21-104, which very proudly, that's the Kandit communication that sent to the House members all of the evidence that we had up until that point of illegal activity. Referred that matter to two committees, the Committee on Ways and Means and the Committee on Judiciary and Government Operations. Now, Kandit previously did a story about the chairman of the Committee on Judiciary and Government Operations, whom under which an impeachment proceeding naturally would go under. The problem is that the chairman is Joel Camacho, Congressman Joel Camacho, who is the governor's godson and who has family ties. He is the common law husband of Attorney General Edward Manabusin's daughter, Monica, and also the niao to David Attalig's child, who is also married to one of Edward Manabusin's children. This family tree stuff is like swirling all over my head, and I can't believe I'm getting it right now. And so we ran that piece about the very troubling conspiracy involving family members covering things up for each other at the highest levels of the government, and just these perfect positions for these cover-ups to happen. And Joel Camacho and his father Serafin Camacho were in the middle of this. And so at that session on Tuesday, Congressman Camacho talked about this conflict of interest, and let's hear what he had to say then.
Opportunity to clarify to my constituents on the details regarding my campaign financial interest statement and my personal relationship with the governor. To answer any of these questions or concerns, yes, the governor is my godfather, as he confirmed me through my confirmation long before we both held public office. And does my relationship affect my ability to serve the community with the governor? Absolutely not. Secondly, I have nothing to hide from the public regarding my campaign financial earnings. I obviously disclosed my financial interest statement with the Office of the Public Auditor, and I had received campaign donations within the confines of the law and OPA regulatory mandates. Although we are entitled to the right of freedom of speech and freedom of press, I stand true in serving the needs of the great people of Precinct 4 and the community. I have never taken the people's confidence in me for granted, and I never will. There is a process, and I respect and I honor the process. Let the process take its course. Again, I am grateful for the opportunity to serve as a representative, and I remain vigilant in my vision to serve the people, and I appreciate all those in the community who have appreciated everything my office has done to serve the community. And to talk about community service, My office has recently completed the renovation of the tennis court at Capitol Hill, and I invite all and any member who plays tennis or the general public should be open sometime this week. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Way to pat your own back, buddy.
We have a lot of that here in Guam, so
You-
we know you're kind.
You can join the Leon Guerrero administration. They're back patters. They
And
like
if you
to,
want firecrackers, fireworks, hey, come over here, buddy.
to celebrate yourselves.
Yeah.
One thing I don't know if did you guys notice? Let me ask you guys. Did you guys notice the number of times the term "we have to respect the process" came out of so many people's mouths? Mm-hmm. That is a rallying line. Those are talking points delivered by the Torres administration to their cronies in the House of Representatives. That's all that is. Because they're saying the same thing. And in Congressman Joel Camacho's speech, it didn't even make sense. He said, while I understand that there's the First Amendment and freedom of speech and freedom of the press, I must also respect the process. Those two statements have nothing to do with each other. And that was a speech probably written by the Torres administration. The fact that Congressman John Paul Sablan, who is the floor leader, and a couple of others who are in the majority, are using these lines. Tell me, I'm a PR person. I'm a political PR person. I can sense. I can point this stuff out. I can smell it. Yeah, and it's mutung, as Maria Gutierrez would say. Posadang.
Posadang.
All right. Now, so that's not the latest in the story of the governor's plunder of the Commonwealth. The latest we just published tonight, and it's a doozy. That's such a nerdy thing to say. It's a doozy of a story, and it's called Lady D's Shopping Sprees. And it's a story by our correspondent, Nancy Maanyao. A reimbursement memo and receipts leaked to Kandit News Group reveal that First Lady Diane Tudela Torres went on several shopping sprees on the public dime. Her husband, Governor Ralph Torres, applied for and received reimbursements for her spending, which included receipts from her father's company, Tudela Enterprises. Among the charges, which in total amount to $2,777.64 that the Commonwealth taxpayers paid the Torres family, are the purchases of 6 dozen donuts from Winchell's at $66, tiki torches, a metal compact mirror for $11.95, a metal money clip, how ironic, and a $81.71 Joe Tens receipt full of nothing but snacks. To be fair, it is possible that these purchases were in fact for gifts to visiting dignitaries, though the CNMI government's procurement processes were not followed, not to mention the fact that Lady D, as she is called, is not a as she called herself, is not a government employee and has no procurement or spending authority granted to her by the Commonwealth Legislature. Inquiring minds will be disappointed to know that the First Lady does not share her husband's appetite for Cheetos. However, she very much likes nearly every darn flavor of Doritos, Pringles, and Cracker Jacks. We cannot make this stuff up, guys. It's all in the receipts. She also bought 54 cans of Libby's Vienna sausage. I'm not lying. For $64.26. 3 bags of Maxwell 3-in-1 100-count coffee mix packets for $29.97, and even 2 Morton iodized salt cylinders for $2.98. Tell me, who gives people gifts, island dignitaries gifts of Morton iodized salt and Libby's chicken Vienna sausage? That is... All of this was reimbursed to the governor. The First Lady wined and dined on the public dime almost as religiously as her husband did. She spent about $1,500 dining out in Saipan and off-island, at Sadie's by the Grill, Tony Roma's, La Cascada, World's Cafe, Seaside Grill, and Garapan Restaurant. To her credit, she removed alcohol purchases at one restaurant, the receipt indicating that those who dined were her personal security detail. 2 of the receipts from Young Corporation for food actually are made out to Tudela Enterprises, the First Lady's father's company. This is just the latest in a series of reimbursements received by the Torres family for largely personal expenses. The reimbursement memo from the governor was dated August 15, 2016, in the midst of recovery from Super Typhoon Sodular. Then Secretary of Finance Larissa C. Larson approved the reimbursement. And here are the documents. And we posted on our website, www.candidnews.com, and on our Facebook page. You might be able to see it better on the website, though. Because Facebook, like, it does its own magic with photos. But look at all of this. That is her handwriting on the notes. If you look closely at the receipts, you see they're made to Diane T. Torres and not to Ralph Torres. $550 at the Fiesta Resort and Spa World Cafe for 18 World Cafe Sunday brunches adults and 1 World Cafe Sunday brunch child. Wait, where's that? There was more. $231. This is the one, American Samoa, where her personal security detail had wined and dined $231, though they did take out the alcohol in that receipt. So at least there's that. Some of these things hard to see, like, 'cause I have to, like, turn my head the other way. Docomo Saipan, Joten Supermarket, $115.22. Where's that list of? I'm looking for the list of. Oh, here's the Tudela Enterprises one. Young Corporation. Tony Roma's. They got a Kickin' something. Kickin' shrimp for $13. An artichoke dip, $11. 2 Roma burgers, $22. 1 barbecue half slab, $17. 1 Tony Roma's half slab, $16. 3 beef something, $17. 2 baby back full slap ribs, $60, and they even had $10 dessert. Oh, here's the one. This is the receipt that's full of snacks. Let me just, because I know inquiring minds want to know. Doritos Cool Ranch, Doritos Spicier Nacho, Doritos Nacho Cheese, Oreo Cinnamon Bun. Wow, that sounds good. I've never had that. Oreo Chocolate Cream, Oreo Golden B-Day Cookies, Oreo Golden Vanilla Cream, Oreo Cool Mint Cream, Jesus Christ, or even Oreo Mini, Sky Flakes Sandwich Chocolates, Cremo Crinkles, Coquilla Caramucho Stick, Airs Caramel Popcorn, another Oreo Go Packs Mini, Pringles Ranch. Prim said that's Ralph Torres. Sticko Mocha Wafers, Yum Yum Mini Bites, Granny G Cornets. These are not gifts.
Snacks for kids.
These
school?
are snacks for kids. These are not gifts at all. Cracker Jacks, tomato caramel corn snacks, Cracker Jacks, Libby's Vienna sausage, Maxwell 3-in-1 coffee mix. This is groceries for their home. That's what this is. A bunch of snacks. This is unbelievable.
Maybe she didn't even mean to turn this in. The husband picked it up off the table to turn in.
like the receipts he picks off
For
the
a
ground.
megabyte, yeah. Maybe.
Unbelievable. Angie Hokuk says, leche, that's a lot of Oreos. I never even heard some of those Oreos. This is where we got most of the comments right here. Oh my good. Oh, I saw a Dalquin. Oh my goodness. Wow, this is a lot of comments that just came in. Okay. Angie Hokuk says, smoke screen. Vincent Pangolinan says, the process. Elizabeth Rawlene says, process for what progress? I like that. Ben Atal says, but no action. Angie is laughing at my Mutsung statement. Po sadang, as Maria Gutierrez would say. Luella Marciano says, yes, tourists love the P words. Progress, now it's process. Ben Atal says, all talk, bull, duty, walks. He didn't say duty. That was my nerdy thing. Angie Hokuk says, sister, you beat me to that line. Gina Lanio Nicholas says, BWOPA.
I don't know what's that.
I don't know, yeah. Rose Duena says, as the rich get richer and the poor stay poorer. They're put down by the man. Angie Hokuk says, donuts again. Masaya buy local, man. Why didn't they buy the donuts from Herman's Bakery at least? Angie Hokuk says, D for Dawkun.
Lady Dawkun.
Lady Dawkun, I love that.
And I'm sorry she didn't receive a crown when she was younger, but apparently
Rowena did.
Yeah, Rowena was the one who got the
And
crown.
if anyone has a picture of Rowena Torres wearing that Miss University crown, please, dear God, send it to troy@candidnews.com. Please. Lance Tyson says, I would have bought me tires. Anthony Smith Jr. says, Coxica Vienna sausage. Yep, 54. 54 Vienna sausages. Tanya Salas says, P word, progress, process, prison. Luella Marciano says, from now on, when I see gifts given, the announcer better say, Ginin Tau Tau Saipan, Tinian, Luta, and Northern Mariana Islands.
Amen. I was just telling Troy that.
Vincent Munoz laughing. Lance Titano is laughing. Luella says, good one, sis. Ben Attal says, oh my God. Ben Attal says, royalty services. Angie Hokuk asks, no spam on the receipts. I guess they don't like spam. They're better than that. Oh, yeah. Prim said because of austerity. Angie, it's because of austerity. Elizabeth Rawlene says, Diana got reimbursement too? Yes, she did. Yes, she did. Lola says, can we look into the foundation? Why is she getting reimbursement? Why can't she use her foundation for those gifts for visitors? You know, we haven't started to look at her foundation, but it is something that eventually we'll get around to. Angie Hokuk says, Doritos again. Governor Cheetos and First Lady Doritos. Esther F. Sound says, Luella, they're counting down the UB40 concert in Saipan. Red wine. Angie says, Leche, that's a lot of Cheetos. Luella says, even that, I'm wondering how or where the funds are going to. Angie says, maybe that's for Ralphie. Lance says, they had the munchies for sure. Rosie Rose says, unbelievable. Took the words out of that. That's exactly how I feel. It's like unbelievable. Luella Marciano says, office groceries, Vienna on the go, especially during boat rides.
Right.
Esther says, process, pues ma arrest. Rose Duena says, thou shalt not steal regardless. Eileen Celoso says, yes, absolutely agree with you, Johnny. They need to stop making excuses of the feds investigating Mr. Torres. Just come together, and can we be clear that the federal investigation is for Mr. Ralph Torres, because I happen to share the same last name, and I don't like the whole idea of like federal investigation into Troy Torres. I kind of run away from stuff like that.
Oh, he does. He left me behind. We even have that on video.
It's for Christmas bloopers. Just come together and impeach him. Mr. Joel Camacho, the Lord says, speak the truth. God knows you all can't sleep at night. Good, because of all the unrighteous ways towards his people's lives. What you leaders saw in your life to others, you'll reap. What your leaders sow in your life to others, you'll reap at the end tenfold. Nothing is impossible for him. Amen. Amen.
Can I just add, when these typhoons were hitting the CNMI, this is when it came out that, Prim? It came out that there was sex trafficking among the firemen, and they had that lady, and that's when typhoons were hitting Saipan left to right. So God has a way of weeding
Well, that's true. Guam was owed a typhoon a long time ago.
No.
Guam is owed a typhoon for sure.
And I think a lot of it had to do with people turning a blind eye to what was happening to those children.
But now people are not turning a blind eye.
Right.
People are gathering their courage.
That's
and
just
they're coming
me
up.
personally. I think about those kind of things, and I may not have any, you know.
Yeah. I think a lot of people will feel the same way. Remember when Super Typhoon Pongsona hit Guam? It was December 8th.
And that's
December
because they didn't
8th.
make it.
They didn't recognize the holiday.
Right.
The legislature they took it away as a holiday, and that's when people.
I wasn't here on island.
Lucky you, because it was really bad. When people criticize the December 8th holiday, I'm like, no, we're not discussing this. We're separation of church and state, blah, 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 whatever. Let's just not discuss that, because the last time we had that discussion, we got a big freaking typhoon, and it was really bad. Angie Hokuk says that the word buopa is stinky and refaluwash. So it's the same as mutung. I'm not even going to try anymore. Biba Guam says, surprised she's not diabetic from all those Oreos. Rosie Rose asks Esther, who's funding in those concerts? Curious. Michelle Mendiola says, Troy, you need to investigate Victor Hokuk, the Senate president. Michelle, we are. Don't worry, we are. We know about the MV Luta. John Anthony Q. Tenorio says, Dad lie. Silas Sablan says, no wonder why the tax return taking so long, because the governor is busy eating it. We're very interested. We're very interested in that story. Not the governor eating the tax refunds, but the fact that tax refunds are late, because that sounds like a lawsuit, a class action lawsuit waiting to happen in the CNMI, and the government there. I mean, I don't know if they'll be able to financially withstand a class action suit like that. Elizabeth Rawlings says maybe those items are bought for their store. Tudela Enterprises in San Vicente. Who knows? Yeah, maybe. An investigation would figure it out by the Commonwealth Legislature. Yet another reason that they should have an investigation. Ben Atal says, lot of sinners. E.K. Kaminanga Refalope says, watching from Alaska, greetings, my pui-puis. Greetings. Louis Manglotnia says to Michelle, thank you. Boy, this is, this Lady D thing, you can't make this stuff up. Now, when Kandit comes back, we are going to bring you the story of AJ Balahaja and the rape accusations against him, and then our full interview with the chief of police on Guam regarding police and public corruption. You won't want to miss this. We'll be back in a few minutes.
I'll ride with the horses, I'll swim through the sea, I'll climb to the mountain tops. Won't you come follow me? I'll take time to notice all that I see, and after I've come so far, you know where I'll be. I'll fly away, fly away, fly away, fly away home. I'll fly away, fly away, fly away, fly away home. But life is a vision, that's how it should be. The world is a canvas, and the choices are free. At the end of the journey, where all is complete, they'll all wonder where I'm memories last forever. For all that we know, the roads come together, and that's where we'll go.
I don't want to show anybody.
Welcome back.
Oh, my pretty daughter-in-law. Okay, you better stay back there, girl.
So back in February, we broke the story about police officer A.J. Balahaja and allegations against him of child rape that some 20 years ago, a couple of decades ago, when he was a noob cop on the beat, he repeatedly raped a boy known to him who was part of, or who was in a family that A.J. Balahaja at the time was a part
Pretending
of.
to take care of.
Yes,
You know? Like,
yes.
Like he was a family friend and he was guiding this kid.
Yes.
But it didn't only happen to that kid. It was the kids in the neighborhood.
And so we broke this story and we tried to get as much comment as possible. We even tried to call police officer A.J. Balahaja about it. We filed something with the Guam Police Department, and the survivor also filed something with the Guam Police Department, and it led to an internal affairs investigation into police officer A.J. Balahaja. For more on this, you can find the story on www.kanditnews.com or go to our Facebook page and you'll see the story there as well. It was breaking news from an interview that we had today with Chief of Police Steve Ignacio. One of the items that we asked him in this interview regarding police and public corruption was what happened to the internal affairs investigation into A.J. Balahaja. And we're happy to report that A.J. Balahaja no longer is a cop. He retired from the police department prior to the completion of that IA investigation. And so because of his retirement, the IA investigation could not be completed because he's no longer internal to the Guam Police Department. But we want to bring you at least a portion of the newscasts or the live telephone calls that we made back in February to police officer A.J. Balahaja, where we tried to get his side of the story. Let's look at that now. Hi, Officer Balahaja.
Yes.
Hi, has told our news group about a rape that occurred when he was between the ages of 8 and 14 by you. Do you have anything to say about that?
I'm not aware of that.
You're not aware of any meeting that you had with Larry Rupley a couple of years ago when you were a candidate for senator, in which he confronted you about this issue in order to get some closure, and you said to him, quote, I don't recall that. If I did that to you, only guilty people do that. So as you can see, sorry. The A.J. Balahaja, I mean, it's par for the course here at Candid News, where we ask a guilty person a question and they just hang up the phone on us. It's riveting.
Never fails.
Never fails.
Never fails.
That's why we're very happy about the CNMI government. Like, they just straight up give interviews. Like, we had an interview with Congressman John Paul Sablan that we're going to bring you tomorrow, where he answered every one of our questions. Now, of course, people probably won't agree with what he said, but at the least, he answered our questions. AJ Balahaja was like, whatever. He hung up on us, but what he did is despicable. And so, that was one of the things that happened today in our interview with Police Chief Steve Ignacio. Another piece of breaking news that we haven't even written out yet is the
that
fact
Benny Babauta is he's a mechanic now.
no lie. You wanna listen to this. You wanna watch this portion of the interview with the chief of police, because it's where he breaks
Nothing
from
makes my heart sing.
bad cop taken off the beat and has been relegated. What the chief said?
He's making sure my cars are in good and working condition. With a smile on it.
See, guys, we can make a difference. Honest to God, Mandania's gone, AJ Balahaja's gone, Benny Babalta's been demoted. I mean,
Joey Uggan is under federal investigation.
And we also told you that the other members of Mandania also have been under investigation.
Mm-hmm.
And so, time will tell. This is we like this because, well, it makes us feel good. But I guess professionally, it goes to our credibility that we said these things a long time ago, and finally, we're getting confirmation that these things have happened. And so, you want to call us fake news all you want, but we happen to be right about these things, and it's because we don't lie to you. It's just that simple. The other piece of breaking news has to do with the Blood Money series, and that is that the police department has referred for prosecution to the Attorney General's office both criminal complaints filed by Jesse Mendiola and by Kandit News against the Liberty Machine operators. And so those cases now are with the Attorney General for them to determine whether an indictment or an information will be issued against those people, or any warrants of arrest will be issued. The police chief does talk about this and several other matters of police and public corruption in an exclusive interview that Kandit News had with him today, and let's roll on that. So there was a report that was released. It was commissioned by the police department and conducted by professors at the University of Guam regarding public perceptions of the police department. You want to just give us a general statement on that first, and then we can go into some questions?
Yeah, so what happened is back during the previous police chief, or my predecessor, he had used, I believe, some funding to do a perception study of the Guam Police Department, in particular their Mandania Cops program at the time. I'm sure it was to gauge, what the community felt about the overall Mandania strategy of policing with the community. This report, unfortunately, was way overdue, and it was finally completed by Dr. Watson, who represented the University of South Pacific, and the University of South Pacific was contracted to do this study. Dr. Watson was, I believe, the principal researcher or investigator for this study. She, in turn, contracted, I believe, the University of Guam, Dr. McNitch and Dr. Rivera's students and their program to go out and do the actual surveys that were given to the people that replied to them.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so there were some good points made, good perceptions of the police department, but overall there seems to be a lack of confidence in the police department, in some areas like response, and other areas and this is where we want to go into more about the overall perception that Guam police officers are not necessarily on the public side. And this survey was conducted prior to the incident with, I know you would rather that we not say the name of the police officer, so the one police officer who is accused of police brutality, and in that video was shown punching a defendant, right?
Yeah.
What do you have to say about that? about first what the report says and then how perceptions might have gotten even worse after that video.
Yeah, so, it's not much that I can say regarding that incident of the viral video that went, of the video that went viral a couple weeks ago. Understandably, there's not much of a comment I can make because we do have an active investigation ongoing. We actually have 3 separate investigations ongoing. We have an internal affairs, which is what we initiate when things like that surface. But then we also have a criminal investigation, which is led by the Attorney General's office, and also a civil rights violation investigation by the FBI. So in ensuring that the Guam Police Department remains impartial and objective in this investigation, and to ensure that the public's trust and confidence that there's any perception that this may be swept under the rug or that there's going to be a massive cover-up regarding this thing, I actually reached out to the Attorney General and solicited their assistance to do the criminal investigation. On the civil rights violation investigation, because this was a viral video, the U.S. Attorney's Office and the FBI did reach out to me and informed me that they would be also looking into this matter as well. And so just to formalize my discussion with them, I went ahead and submitted a letter requesting that they also do an investigation. With respect to the internal affairs investigation, we have had an internal affairs unit for the better part of the 32 years that I've been in the Guam Police Department. So I'm confident that my investigators and internal affairs are able to do impartial and objective investigations. And we believe best about our policies and procedures and how they're executed lawfully. So I'm confident that they'll be able to complete an impartial and objective investigation into that viral video.
What would you say, Chief, to people who won't buy that line? And just to give you some perspective that yes, actions were taken when that viral video went out, but there are many people in the community, and you can see it in the perception survey as it may, right, who may believe that or who have witnessed themselves police brutality or police corruption, and maybe the question that they would ask is it the only reason that this is becoming a matter for investigation because it was caught on video, and that the police department has not done anything before to stop this kind of thing, or even to recognize that it's happened?
Yeah. So, viral videos should not be the impetus for people to come forward to report police misconduct. Our internal affairs division, is open Monday through Friday, 8 to 5 during regular government hours to make the complaint. But you also got to go back, Troy and Johnnie, and look at the Guam Police Enabling Statute. Okay, in the Guam Police Enabling Statute under Title 10, Chapter 77, there is a section of law in there that says if an officer is aware of misconduct by another officer, they have a duty by law to report that incident to the chief of police. So it has to be reported up the chain. So if it's 2 o'clock in the morning and you believe that an officer, committed a violation, whether there was a police brutality violation or committed some kind of other crime, then when you report it to the police officer, it doesn't matter where they're at, what time of day, they have a duty as a police officer to report that up the chain of command. And it's up to the chief of police and his command staff to look at the report and best deal with it.
So personally, I've made complaints about police misconduct, and I know you can't speak about my complaint specifically, but I'm sure other people have made complaints about police misconduct as well. But the community isn't aware of what's happened with those complaints, or if anything's happened at all, partially because the internal affairs reports, which are required by law to be online, are not currently online. The other thing is that statements are not made by the police department about the start of these investigations within the 10-day period that the law prescribes and stuff like that, right? So what more assurance can you give the public that these complaints of misconduct are taken seriously and are actually a priority?
So in our internal affairs investigations, when Troy Torres comes in to make a complaint or Johnnie Rosario comes in to make a complaint, that complaint, of course, has to be posted on the website that a complaint was made, and then the follow-up to that is that the findings of when that complaint is concluded, or that internal affairs investigation is concluded. However, you as the person coming in to make that complaint will receive a letter from the internal affairs section that'll tell you, it won't tell you all of the details of the complaint, but what it'll tell you, it'll simply tell you whether the complaint that you made against a certain police officer or officers or employees of this department was either sustained, not sustained, or unfounded. Okay, so that will come to you. You know, unfortunately, you may not get it within the 90 days, the 60 days, but if you did make a complaint, then you can come back in and say, what is the status of my internal affairs complaint against officer so-and-so or employee so-and-so? And if the case is completed, then you will be provided a letter, and it's not going to tell you much other than it was sustained, not sustained, unfounded.
So Chief, what are you doing to ensure that these complaints of police misconduct or investigations of police misconduct take some sort of priority in the police department?
With the internal affairs investigations, again, we look at the severity of the incident and whether or not the case is going to go through an adverse action, or is it just going to go through what we call a command referral, or sent to a police major to take discipline, or it's going to go back to maybe the precinct commander or the immediate supervisor to take some kind of action. And so,
or to the AG's office to file a complaint.
If a complaint has to be filed, right?
Okay.
For indictment or information.
For indictment or information, right? So, on a day-to-day basis, on a daily basis, I read through different things that affect the department. For example, officers are involved in crashes, right? So that thing makes its way to internal affairs if the officer is at fault. If an officer deploys his taser, that's forwarded to internal affairs to look at and make sure that the deployment of the tasers are in line with our standard operating procedures, our policies and procedures. So different things, that come up, and just because an officer deploys his taser and was involved in a crash, doesn't mean that there's going to be an adverse action. So an adverse action is three things: a suspension, a demotion, or a termination. So some of the incidences that the officers are involved with do not rise to that level.
Since you've been the chief of police, how many adverse actions have been issued against officers for police misconduct or for official misconduct?
I'm not. I don't have that information with me. It's something I have to look into.
Okay. Can you remember at least one?
I've probably, as the chief, I've had maybe 5 or 6 what we call proposed adverse actions, meaning the employee or the officer would sit in front of me.
The NDA.
Yeah, and explain to me, and I explain to them, these are the findings. What's your response to the findings? And then I will determine whether it's, again, what the adverse action is going to be, or if adverse action is going to be taken at all. I don't have a concrete number as to. I'm assuming I'm going to go out and say I had 5 or 6 adverse actions, proposed adverse actions cases in front of me, but of course not all of them turn into adverse actions, in final adverse actions. Yeah.
I just want to add. Right now, with the state that we're in, I've come from being not a law-abiding citizen to a law-abiding citizen. And all of us, including people that don't go against the law or what didn't go against the law, we're looking at you to make the changes because we do know that there are some bad apples in the police department. So people we just want to speak with you just to get that that these things are happening, and you will do what you can to investigate and get it done,
Right. And so to that, Johnny, again, if they know of something and they hear something, and maybe even if they're scared to come forward because it involves an officer, there's always Crime Stoppers. There's always a way to we've received anonymous letters from
and emails
people and emails saying, this officer so-and-so, this misconduct, this officer so-and-so is doing this, or this employee of the police is doing this. So There's nothing wrong with us receiving something anonymously. And then, like I said, if it's serious enough and it rises to that level, it's something that we will investigate. And if it goes beyond an actual, not just an internal affairs investigation, but it rises to the level of a criminal action, then of course there are other avenues to explore.
Chief, can we switch subjects to white-collar crimes? Now, the law in different parts of the Guam Code gives the police department the authority to investigate different types of white-collar crimes. For instance, violations of the casino code. I'm sorry, the gambling code on the island. And what is white-collar crime up there in the priority list of the police department?
So a white collar crime actually comes down at the end of the day also to just a crime in itself, right? So a government employee may be stealing money from the government. That's considered a white collar crime. But at the end of the day, the crime is still a theft, right? It's a theft of money, right? And that's happened before, right? So it's still a crime, and it's still a crime that's investigated by the Guam Police Department. So, we do investigate it just like any other crime, and if people need to be held accountable, then they will. And I know you're probably going to go next, segue into your two complaints regarding the what do they call them? Those pachinko machines? Are they called pachinko?
The Liberty machines.
The Liberty machine. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I don't.
You're not a gambler.
I don't play those games, so I don't know what they're called. But the Liberty.
Well,
machines.
thank you for not playing those games.
Yeah. So the Liberty machines, and I understand that there's two complaints that have been brought to the attention of the Guam Police Department.
One by Jesse Mendiola and the other by myself.
Right. Yeah. So in my discussion with Ms. Daphne Shimzu, the Revenue Tax Director, we brought the matter to her attention, and I believe they also went out to enforce on their part the regulations that affect those machines. Along with that, I've also had a meeting and a discussion with the Attorney General of Guam, and they're going to be providing me sometime soon some guidance as to how the Guam Police can move forward or should move forward with these two complaints. In the meantime, we have forwarded the two complaints that were made by yourself and Mr. Mendiola to the Attorney General's office so that they become aware that there are complaints being made by members of the community, and that either they take action on those complaints or they provide us action as to how we should proceed.
So the matter of whether a warrant of arrest would be issued for anyone who may have violated the law there is still up in consideration.
Yeah, it's with the AG's office now to provide us guidance, because you got to remember that you got to also remember that other things going on that may affect that is also, I believe there's a lawsuit going on between the parties involved, the AG's office, the Revenue Tax, and the operators of the Liberty machines.
Okay.
So that all has a very complex relationship to the complaints being made.
Chief, what has the effect of these game rooms had on the police department and your ability to fight crime there? Obviously, just from the outside looking in, we can see that police officers have to work a lot harder and responding to so many more crimes that occur at the game rooms, or because people have lost money while playing and so they go rob someone. Just very recently on Thanksgiving morning, the incident with the man who assaulted the old lady.
Right, yeah, and that was very troubling to hear. In the documents that were filed with the Superior Court, that this person's statement was that he had lost his money gambling, and that to recover his loss, he went and he robbed somebody. That's very unfortunate, both to the person who lost his money, and more importantly, to the victim, who became a victim because of this incident. I did do some research on your question about the number of robberies in the game rooms, and surprisingly enough, I only came up with 4 robberies of game rooms this year. I could only find 4.
Okay.
So if there's more out there, we'll look again. But I only have 4 robberies this year at the game rooms.
That's directly connected to the game rooms.
And the cashiers were attacked as well.
Right.
So it's a
there's
big
some
deal.
level. Yeah, there's some level of violence with the robberies that are occurring in the game rooms. But to counter that, we also saw that the game rooms were being robbed more frequently at some point. And so what we did is, to be more proactive and getting out and making sure that we work with the community, Major Manny Chung and some of our community outreach officers, we went out and we actually sat down with these Liberty machine operators, and we told them, these are the steps that you can take to protect yourself. Some of them put up magnetic door locks. Some of them lock the doors, and they have surveillance cameras in the front door so that they can see before the potential customer comes in, if somebody that they recognize as a regular, or somebody new that maybe up to have bad intentions. So we've gone out and done our job or our part to help these people become less vulnerable as victims.
So recognizing the need for and deploying more resources from the Guam Police Department in order to have these talks or these discussions, and also in the response to crime as well, would you say that these game rooms increase the propensity for crime to be committed in our community?
I don't think we've ever looked at that game rooms cause robberies to happen, or game rooms cause drug activity to happen, or game rooms cause home invasions to happen. I don't think that we've ever studied the people involved to say that there's a direct relationship between the two. I don't think it would be fair to single out or characterize one type of thing and say that this is what the root cause is, or a contributing factor to a cause of drug use or whatever, because there are other vices in the community, right? There's cockfighting, there's other forms of gambling, right? We all know of people, maybe they have bingo. There's also people that have sponsor maybe poker games at their house, So, I don't think it'd be fair to characterize that Liberty machines cause crime to rise, or Liberty machines cause people to go out and use drugs or deal drugs. I don't, we've never looked at that and see that Liberty machines or these pachinko parlors or whatever you call them cause crimes to rise.
It's the addiction to the gambling.
There's different types of addictions.
You do have officers like Benny Babauta who are known to station themselves outside or near to game rooms, so that because they are aware that most of the people who go into the game rooms are high on drugs and might have drugs on them. And so in several court records that we have read in the Superior Court in trials for people who are accused of possession of methamphetamine, where particularly Benny Babauta is the officer who took the stand and was the arresting officer. This actually was a trending thing that Guam police officers would station themselves near or outside game rooms so that they could find probable cause to pull over cars and then search those cars and they would find drugs or drug paraphernalia. And so obviously there are police officers in the Guam Police Department who are very much aware that these game rooms are bastions of drug use and criminal activities. You want to speak about that?
I can't speak to that, but I do know that I can speak to Benny Babauta. He's actually in charge of making sure that my cars run properly. That's where he's at now.
Okay, so he's no longer he's not on the street beat anymore?
No, he's a lieutenant now, yeah.
He hasn't been.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay. Well, I mean, there are other officers besides Benny Babauta who've done this, but yeah, he's the one whose name appears the most in those court records.
And that's way before Chief of Police Stephen Lashu's time.
You know what? We just love you for that. We just love you for that. Thank you, Chief, for that. So, all right. Anything else on the gambling thing?
No.
No? Okay.
No.
If we could, just to the questions that we had earlier in the year regarding, can we have an update on the internal investigation into police officer AJ Balahaja?
AJ Balahaja has retired from the Guam Police Department, so that ends.
Do you have a round of applause?
Johnnie. That ends that internal affairs investigation because now he's not subject to the government of Guam personnel rules and regulations.
So because the internal affairs investigation was not completed prior to his retirement, that will not be a matter of public record.
Right.
Okay, all right. What about anything, any update on any investigation into the case of the 12-year-old girl at Mount Carmel who was allegedly raped?
Okay, that one I'm not very familiar. I've heard you talk about that case before, but I'm not very fully familiar with that case.
Our last knowing about it was that an investigation started. We gave the name of
criminal investigation?
According to Paul Tapel, right?
Mhm.
He's the one who responded to us.
That CID had the case.
That CID
Okay,
had the case.
so I'll check with CID, and if anything, again, because depending on when the crime occurred, and if it's, you know, outside of what we call the statute of
It was
limitations.
last year.
Yeah,
Last year?
just last
Okay, so then I'll get an update. Yeah, we'll find out what's going on with that case.
There has been a number of violent crimes that the community is becoming worried about. So, for instance, the two seemingly random shootings along back road to Anderson. Of course, the
rape of the 13-year-old girl.
The rape of the 13-year-old.
Did you know?
13-year-old. So there are several crimes that have gone unsolved, and the police department has been rather mum on the progress of these investigations. Can you say anything to the public that might ease their tensions on this?
When investigating crimes, sometimes they say less is more. And so when we're investigating crimes, we don't want to say too much because we have to protect the integrity of the investigation.
Sure.
Not to say that we don't want to tell the public and increase their awareness. I think if the public needed to know something because they need to be aware so that they can better protect themselves, then we would issue a statement. But our investigations are progressing. Unfortunately, because they are criminal investigations and they're sensitive investigations, there's a whole bunch of things that we do. We collect evidence, we have to analyze evidence. And you don't want to make any premature statements about a case, because if it doesn't come to fruition that this is what you said you're going to do, then that's the department loses credibility, because you said you're going to do this, but it never happened. I'll give you an example. I was a criminal investigator many years ago, and unfortunately, the chief of police at that time went out and made a public statement that by next week we're going to be making an arrest in a homicide. Well, that never happened, and so you could imagine, the concern from the media and the public saying, you promised that there was going to be an arrest made. And so that's why we don't make public statements about ongoing cases, especially cases that are fairly fresh and they're actively being investigated. But rest assured to the public that we are investigating all these cases. And you're right, there's the shooting in Pagat, Manila with the young lady.
That one we heard about right away because of her being hurt and in the ambulance and going to the hospital.
Right.
The one that concerns me is the one that was just down the street from my home, because I live right there on Route 15, and no one heard about that shooting until the following week. So not even me. I didn't hear it. Nobody put out a press release saying there was in fact a shooting. Please make sure, this is what happened here down this road. So,
but I also understand though that some statements have come forward, not from the Guam Police Department, right? And this is why we're very careful about what we say.
mm-hmm.
But also it's my understanding that some statements have been made that the shooting in Jigo that you're talking about right down the street from you
Yeah.
may not have been a random drive-by shooting or a random shooting. I believe somebody has made indications that it may have been an accident.
Oh,
See?
okay.
What about the case for the rape? Because the rape happened on a Monday night, and then information did not come out about any investigation into the rape until about Wednesday of that week. The one with the 13-year-old girl along by Seng Song Road near the store.
I ran into the mayor of Didido, I believe that the morning after that, and we did take a complaint that the same night it happened, the mayor, the Guam Police Department, and the neighborhood watch group were out there that night scouring the area,
Yes.
looking for a possible suspect.
Understood, but the public wasn't informed about it until maybe 3 days later.
Yeah, I'll check with why the delay in the release, but you know, again, you may not get a press release that this occurred, but there was a police response. The mayor, you know, thanked me and the Guam Police Department, you know, the hardworking officers from their precinct, because they all responded. They were all there. It was all hands on deck to
Yes.
try and work with the community. To go door to door, house to house, jungle the vacant lot, looking for a possible.
We understand that there was even a pursuits into the jungle as well. And
Yes,
so-
Yes.
so we deployed a lot of resources to try and resolve that case right away.
I hope he resolved that case, 'cause that's a
Me
that's a
too,
disgusting
me too,
case.
Yes.
If we can just wrap up with a discussion, more of a discussion on corruption, both police corruption and public corruption. Of course, you know, we started off as Kandit News from our entire discussion in the beginning was about police corruption, so you know how we feel
Right.
about that. Can you level with us? Will you admit that there are at least yet to be investigated or yet to be adjudicated cases of or instances of bad cops within the Guam Police Department?
You know, Troy, there's always people's perception as to whether, you know, cops are good or cops are bad. You know, what matters at the end of the day is if people are bad or they're criminal, then they'll get indicted, they'll get arrested, and they'll be held accountable. And you saw that with one of the officers with that video that went viral regarding the stolen wallet. We will take criminal action. We will hold our employees accountable. There's no such thing as it's going to be swept under the rug, and there's no such thing that people are not going to be held to the highest standards in this police department.
Not under Chief Steve Ignacio.
And it shouldn't only be under Chief Steve Ignacio, but any other chief after me and any other chief before me should always be held to the same, hold their employees and themselves to the same high standards.
Instances of police corruption or police brutality, but who should they call? What should they do?
If the people in the community have a fear of exposing police officers, again, there's many different avenues. But at the end of the day, come see me, come sit down, come talk to me, because they want to feel comfortable that I am somebody they can approach. I'm somebody who will sit down just like this and give them the time of day, because at the end of the day, I'm the chief of police for the community that I serve. And I'm here to serve the community, not to serve Steve Ignacio. You know, I'm here for the community.
And Johnny and I want to tell all our viewers that if there is one Leon Guerrero cabinet member whom we have not attacked, it has been Chief Steve Ignacio. And it's because
we have respect. We have respect for you, and we know what you're gonna do. You're taking this by storm. So.
And we think you're a straight shooter.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
And I intend to always be a straight shooter.
Cool.
Yeah.
Because I think the public needs to count on their police department. Yeah.
And then on the issue of public corruption and the police department's role to take complaints, investigate complaints of public corruption. If people are aware of public officials who are doing illegal things, what should they do?
You know,
and what will you do?
You know, I believe that the public auditor has a hotline also.
Okay.
So that's an avenue for people who believe that there's public corruption going on, white collar crimes going on. That's an avenue that they can use also, aside from things like just the normal channels of like Crime Stoppers and all that.
But how about with the police department? What should they walk into the Agania precinct or?
Absolutely. You know, the community of Guam and all the citizens have an absolute right to walk into any precinct and make a complaint about what they believe is or perceive to be corruption, and it's up to the officer and the Guam Police Department in general to take that complaint, whether it's actual or perceived, and determine what the appropriate action is.
Determine whether there's probable cause.
Whether there's probable cause and evidence an actual crime, right? Because sometimes people see something and they think that it's wrong, but at the end of the day, it may not be wrong, right? And it's just public perception and how they perceive things. But if you have a concern, again, there's the public auditor, there's the Guam Police Department, there's the Office of the Attorney General. People should not be afraid to come forward and speak
About any kind of
about
crime,
any kind of crime, yeah.
including crimes.
Because at the end of the day, a
corruption.
crime is a crime, and a crime has to be investigated, and people have to be held accountable.
Chief, is there any special thing, any special unit or whatever that you guys have here, or that you will have to begin to combat public corruption?
No, I don't think we're at that stage yet. If there's anything, I know we have had officers assigned to the Attorney General's office. This was way back in probably the late 90s, you know, when we had a bigger, robust police department with more officers. You know, I remember that there were actually police officers and an AG's investigators and an AG prosecutor assigned to actually investigate public corruption and white-collar crimes.
Okay.
Yeah. But you know, unfortunately, we've all suffered the same losses as far as personnel, prosecutors, police officers, you know, and the like. Yeah.
And one police department needs funding, Governor.
And the governor has given me funding, Johnny. Yeah.
Well, we won't ask you about the transfers out then publicly. So
No, so you know, out there right now, you know, because we're Facebook Live or wherever we're at, I have $1.7 million from FY19 to hire more officers, and the Guam Police Department also received an additional 1.2 or $1.7 million in the FY20 budget. So combined, I just had a discussion. We're targeting, hopefully, that should be sufficient enough for us to hire an additional 100 officers.
Alright.
But we're trying to get closer to 100 than we are to any other number. Tomorrow, we'll be swearing in police officers
oh wow.
for on-the-job training. So the police recruit cycle that is going through now, there'll be 23 brand new officers on the street starting Sunday.
You just reminded me about some. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
And then yesterday and today, we are interviewing an additional 20 applicants.
Wow.
So we're moving. You know,
Wow,
we're
good.
moving. We're trying to keep the community safe.
Good for the administration. That's good.